So we all talk, when we talk about stories, hanging out with people, you might hear the term, my buddy is a little bit of a wacky guy. My buddy was smoking weed, got high, and then, my buddy was doing some crazy shit, started popping pills, started like eating these mushrooms out of the ground, started like taking chemicals in the eyeballs. My buddy is crazy. Well, that buddy turned out to be elected to Congress, and his name is Buddy Carter. So this clip made the rounds. Now, again, for those of you that don't know, the House, once again, for the second time, voted to decriminalize marijuana. And so they were debating whether or not marijuana is evil. And so Buddy Carter said some very stupid shit, and, he went viral for it. Let's watch.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, I'm a pharmacist. I know addiction. I know, and I've studied addiction. I can tell you, marijuana is nothing more than a gateway drug.
Marijuana is a gateway drug. Now, he's a pharmacist, so, his expertise is in pharmaceutical products, potentially. But I'm very curious, right? Like, what is a drug? We need to really define. Now, I just want to tell you my biases. I think we should decriminalize every substance. I think we should legalize every substance. The idea that certain substances are illegal is ridiculous. We can get into the history of the Controlled Substances Act as well. But pharmaceuticals, yes, maybe you can consider those drugs. But, okay. But what is a drug and what is medicine? Well, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm antidepressants. I'm skeptical, right? But I know they work for some people, and that's great for them. But a lot of people that I know and I've spoken to have been prescribed antidepressants and were prescribed antidepressants, when they were like 15. Is that not a gateway drug? I'm just saying, right? People get prescribed ADHD medication when they're 13. Right? So I'm just saying, if anything is a gateway drug, we have a lot to talk about in regards to the pharmaceutical industry. Now, again, these things work for a lot of people. I'm just saying, the idea that weed is the gateway drug and not all other things that are legalized. What about caffeine? Is caffeine a gateway drug? I don't know, man. I've heard people say that, they love coffee, and then they tried cocaine, and it's like, it's like coffee, but, like 100 times more. I'm just saying, that many people have said that. Is caffeine a gateway drug? What about smoking cigarettes, bro? What about smoking cigarettes? What about opioids? People, get hurt in a car accident. Right? They get hooked on fucking Percocets. Then their script runs out. Their doctor says, hey, you don't need them anymore. But they got that itch. They're addicted. Right? Then they go out and get heroin. Whoops. Laced with fentanyl and dead. So are opioids a gateway drug? I think society, maybe would say that. I don't know if Buddy Carter would agree with me. What about alcohol? Is alcohol a gateway drug? A lot of people do a lot of stupid shit when they're drunk, including but not limited to taking other drugs that maybe they don't know what, the drug is, or they don't know what the source is, but they're drunk and they don't care as much, and then maybe, it was a bad batch or something and they die. Is alcohol a gateway drug? Now, I would say any drug can be a gateway drug. I think the idea of a gateway drug making something bad, I think is dumb. That being said, why is weed illegal? Let's assume weed is a gateway drug. Let's assume that's true. If weed's a gateway drug, so is alcohol, so is caffeine. So are SSRIs, right? So, but guess what? Only one of these things is banned. Now, me personally, I consider myself to be in favor of drugs in moderation. I think as long as you moderate, I think drugs can be a really good part of the human experience. Now, I'm not advocating to get into drugs. I don't think you should do drugs. I think a lot of people have addictive personalities, and drugs can be bad for that. That being said, I'd be lying if I said that, drugs couldn't yield positive experience. There's a reason people do drugs. There's a fucking reason that people do drugs. I don't know. If drugs were all bad, no one would do them. Right? I don't know. There's pros and cons. So I think people should be allowed to make their own decisions. One of the things about legalizing substances is that people can study them. Right? You don't have to, the only source of information isn't reefer madness propaganda. Right? There can be other sources of information. Some from people that really want to get you on drugs. Right? Some from people that really don't want you to get you on drugs. Some from people who are in the middle, and you have to decide what information you deem is accurate. Always do your research before ingesting anything. Whether or not that's something that you got at Wendy's. Do your fucking research. Look at the goddamn shit that you're eating in general. Whether you got a frozen fucking TV dinner, do your research before you put anything in your body. Whether that's weed, alcohol, fast food, coffee, whatever. You should know what a drug, like a medicine that you're putting in. Research everything that you put into your body. That should be what we tell our people, our kids. We should say, every possible thing you could even think of ingesting, you should know as much information as possible about that. You should know every ingredient in the food that you're eating and what those ingredients do, what their nutrient profiles are, how they boil down in your body. But again, in this instance, my buddy, not so bright. But anyway, congrats for the House for decriminalizing marijuana again. Doesn't really matter, though. That being said, Biden could just do that himself. The House decriminalizing marijuana doesn't mean anything because the president can just do it himself, right? So the House doing that is kind of unnecessary. But,